Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. This is brought to you by the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. And today we're going to be looking at 10 comments that Dr. Glasser made, whether it was in a book or recorded from a lecture that I attended. But anyway, I have 10 comments, and I have a couple, three people here with us that may make some comments on the comments. So we're just here to kind of look at Dr. Glasser's wisdom. So let me bring up what we're going to do today. We're looking at Glasser quotes and then a short discussion on each one. So here goes number one. We almost always have choices, and the better the choice, the more we will be in control of our lives. So what do you think? Agree, disagree?
Yes. I'll tell you what I especially like. The word almost. There are times when the discussion or person talking in their enthusiasm to support choice theory say, we always have a choice. And on the one hand, it makes sense. Are all behaviors are chosen? Well, all behaviors are not chosen. If somebody walks up behind me now and I don't see them, and you don't see them to warn me, and I've got soft carpet, and all of a sudden they grab me by the shoulders and say, boo, I'm probably going to jump. And I didn't choose it. It was an autonomic response. But I like that almost always have choices.
Right. And the better the choice, the more we are in control of our own lives. And so here's another one. The day we stop playing will be the day we stop learning. Dr. Glasser was really big on learning, but enjoying what you're learning. And whenever we stop having fun, then we're kind of drying up.
I saw a cartoon. It's a headstone. And I always have to be careful. For some reason or other, I stumble on the pronunciation of this word. The epitaph. It's a tricky one. The epitaph says on there, here's a headstone in a little cemetery. Here lies the mind of John Doe, who quit thinking at age 30.
Yeah. Stop thinking, stop playing, stop enjoying, then we really begin to deteriorate more and more. So here, the fact that you have different profiles. Now, this one is kind of for a marriage situation, primarily. It could be for coworkers also. The fact that you have different profiles isn't really that disastrous to the marriage. What is disastrous is the fact that you don't understand how different your profiles are. You can't make a 2 into a 4. However, you can understand that your mate is less capable than you expect him or her to be, and maybe you can settle for that. It's realizing that, this person has worth and value, and yes, we belong together, even though they are heavy on something that I'm not heavy on, or they're light on something I'm not light on. But maybe you can accept who they are and be appreciative of their particular profile or their personality or their likes or dislikes, and be okay with it. Because whenever we accept something, then we're no longer fighting against it.
Okay, let me look around. I want to make sure Glasser is not listening.
Well, there's a possibility that may or may not be.
I don't know how that works exactly. And the thing is, I think that I'm 99% in sync with him. So this is part of that 1%. For some reason or another, well, I can say down the last sentence, however, you can understand that your mate is less capable than you expect him, her to be. And that sort of says, well, okay, they're less capable, so it sounds a little patronizing. And it's just that you can understand that your mate is different than I expect them to be.
Well,
Not
that's a
less,
little bit of an odd, awkward way of stating it, that once you really think about it, it makes so much sense.
yeah, except,
You got to let everyone be who they are.
well, that part, I agree with you and him, but just the less capable. I
The
would,
less
I, yeah, I would say, because it's like the thing, Wendell, you got to be careful. These folks are all high school dropouts, so you got to talk down to their language.
well,
Well,
just the thought here.
they may be extremely smart on common sense, and they'll see if I'm patronizing and talking down to them. Anyway, it just I like everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and maybe, just maybe, if it had been to kind of the other direction, as in, however, you understand that your mate is more capable than you expected him to be, and maybe you can settle for that. But
Yeah,
they're willing to, to have everything in exact order, whereas
yeah.
with you, it's just kind of hit or miss.
Understand that my mate is more capable than me, and I'm the
Right.
one that make the effort.
Yeah. And then accept it.
All
And
right.
okay, so
Hey,
here
put
we,
those three back up so Sharon can catch up with us.
well, we'll do that when we finish.
All right.
We're taping now. So here's another quote from Dr. Glasser, and we are asking for some comments. I am interested in mental health, and that is what sparked my interest in education. I
Wow.
equate mental health to happiness. If our students are going to get started toward a mentally healthy life, they must be successful in school. And again, for those of you that are coming in now, uh, these are quotes, some taken from books, some that was written down whenever I was attending a lecture that Dr. Glasser gave. And I thought this was real powerful. That his interest in mental health is what sparked his interest in education. That the more we learn, the more we have fun, the more we enjoy, the happier it's just endemic. It just happens. The happier we become.
I have not heard this idea. This is very helpful and eye-opening and expanding to me. He's interested in mental health, and that's what sparked his interest in getting into education. He was the most unlikely educational consultant, but he was so successful at the Ventura School for Girls. He said, I wonder if we're doing this well when they get kicked out of school or when they drop out, if we could catch them before the system kicks them out or before they give up and intervene then and keep them in school. So that's when he started parlaying himself as a educational advisor. This is
Right.
very helpful, Mona. Thank you. Where did you pull this list from?
Well, the majority of them was from quotes because up and down I-35, anytime Dr. Glasser was there, I tried to be there also,
Yeah,
and took a lot of quotes directly from what he was saying. So here's another quote of his. Education is the process through which we discover that learning adds quality to our lives. Effective teaching may be the hardest job there is. And I can just mentally see all kinds of teachers and professors shaking their head. Yes, that definitely can be one of the hardest jobs there is. is to help someone learn something and to see how this adds quality.
Glasser sent me a copy. I had to look this up the other day. The word is galley, Galley, and it's a printed bound copy of a book that's about, you may know this, my apologies, of a book that's about to be published, but it's not in the commercial published form yet. So they call it a galley. But it's a done deal. It wasn't like you sent it to me and Wendell, do you have any feedback or editing, you know? And at that time in the process, just before that, he had once toyed with the idea of calling one of those books is Teaching the Hardest Job There Is, literally using that, and then he shied away from that.
Right, that quote is from, he probably said it orally in talking, but I know it's from his books on education, and
Yeah.
it may be every student can learn. That's where I would start if I was looking for it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that
Okay, here's
first quote, okay, that I'm just going to back to your first quote, Mona. That I have never heard him say, but I can hear him saying it.
right.
After
The mental
Yeah.
health.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I wish I had taken more interest as to, just I had the date, but don't necessarily have the place or the company that he was talking to. And
Yeah.
whenever in the ones that I wrote down. But anyway, just glad I got what I got.
Mhm.
And then here is another one says, just keep returning to one principle. We control what we perceive, not what actually exists and not what we do.
Wow.
Mhm.
We control, we're in there to help others understand the way we see it. And sometimes that can be disconnecting. And whenever we realize that everyone sees things a little differently, that we can still accept their point of view to a degree, going back up to what we was looking at a minute ago to see that the 2 and the 4, they're not exactly the same. Then just return to a basic principle. It's our perception really could be a little askew.
Well, look at his first book on control theory, Behavior, the Control of Perceptions.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
and that was the phrase. And as we were learning it and starting to try to share it with others, what perception are you controlling for? And that evolved into what do you really want, which had been part of reality therapy, but then we had this thing on perceptions, and then he moved into the quality world, and then we say what's the number one picture in your quality world? What do you want? What are you controlling for? What are you trying to get to? But that's and this is still very accurate. That's exactly what it is. It's just a different way of saying it.
Yeah. And sometimes you can understand it better if it's said in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. What happened in the past that was painful has a great deal to do with what we are today. But revisiting that painful past can contribute little or nothing to what we need to do now. We can only satisfy our basic needs right now and plan to continue satisfying them in the future.
That's one of the axioms, right?
It is.
Mhm.
It is. It is.
Mhm. Right.
Wow. I mean, duh.
Yeah. But when I was looking back at notes, it wasn't in the line of axiom thinking.
Right.
And I
No.
thought, it's just really powerful for someone to know if they're not familiar with the axioms.
Mhm.
And those of you that may be wondering now and viewing this later, the axioms you can go on, there's 10 of them, and they're just little terse sayings that kind of wakes you up whenever you need to really focus on something. That what happened in the past was painful, but what I do today is what's going to help heal that painfulness that's still there.
And the thing is, every person in the world that's made a name for herself or himself and written books and has become speakers, and a lot of them are psychologists, and so forth, that have been successful are in the same mindset. You know, the big motivation speakers, the top salespeople, all that, you know, you've got to focus here and now on the present. Learn from the past, maybe. One of the early things in reality therapy was, you know, we spend very little time or not much there. We focus here. We might spend time in the past to say, was there something when this happened before that you did that seemed to help a little bit? Oh yeah, I used to do this or this. Gee, I hadn't thought of that lately, you know. And then I'm not prescribing for them, but I say, well, I used to, you know, we used to go dancing all the time. Our relationship is right now, but we used to do a lot of things for fun. What did you do for fun? Not before, for success. We used to do this. When was the last time you went? Oh, I guess it's been 10, 12 years. And I don't even have to say, is that something you could do now or would do? Just the fact that we brought it up, or they brought it up, I'm talking about, you say, well, no, well, you know what?
It's
There's a
looking at
dance
the past.
Saturday night. Let's go.
Yeah, we might try that again. Wow, what a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking at the past for strength. When have you
Yeah.
ever faced something like this, and
Great
how
successes, yeah.
how were you able to do it and move it then, of course, to the present?
Okay, so here's another quote that he was talking, and this directly was from the book where people would write in questions for him and he would write back to them. And says, when we label anyone as bad, someone had written in wanting to know how to help a child that was askew. And he says, when we label anyone bad, we will have a harder time dealing with him than if we could have settled for a lesser label.
Yeah.
And instead of calling him, you know, a smart aleck or something, to whatever the mom had been calling the child and seeing him as this little demon or whatever, if you can see him as being a kid that has a lot yet to learn, you know, but still someone that's capable of learning those things.
Right. And that goes right back to that quote you gave earlier about our perceptions or our world. And if we perceive the child as bad, that's the way we work with the child, treat the child, think about the child. And as Dr. Glasser recommended, we do a lesser label, then our perceived world changes about that child.
Exactly. Awesome. It just works internally with us.
It does. That's what's so amazing about all of this, how it all just dovetails together. Thank you for bringing these up.
I've seen a number of examples too.
So Sharon, share with us what you labeled your kids whenever you were a teacher. What would you say to them?
There are can-do kids. This is the Carter can-do classroom, and it was written above the door frame when they walked into the classroom. And so we always talked about that. And if they had trouble, I'd say, but look what room you're in. You're in the can-do room. How can we do it? You know, and that, thank goodness, was from Dr. Glasser's influence.
Yeah, but that's very clever and really personal. I mean, you really personalized it and made it tangible to the kiddos.
Right. And I had to talk to myself about being a can-do teacher too sometimes.
Exactly.
It got hard.
Right. Okay, we'd mentioned previously about the juvenile delinquents that was at the Ventura Home for Girls. And Dr. Glasser said in this, if the girls were going to learn new attitudes and skills to make it in society, They would have to have dreams and hopes for the future. And
Mhm.
dreams don't come out of failure. That's in the Identity Society book that he wrote, that dreams do not come out of failure. And it's helping
Mhm.
people to see, to be a can-do kid, even no matter what age you are.
Mhm.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with the two quotes here. Always treat him as if he is good. Set up circumstances where he can only succeed.
Mhm.
Only succeed. Only succeed.
I
I think
remember
about
one role play um, where the kid has really done some oppositional, destructive uh, things in the classroom or what have you. And so the kid is expecting Glasser to be who's maybe acting as the role play and the principal or something like that. The kid's expecting him to be right like this, just pounding on him, you know. And so he's sort of testing Glasser out to see if he's going to be judgmental about it. And it was something like, well, you know what? That's very creative. I'm just going to call the kid Bobby. Bobby, that's very creative behavior. What? Yeah, I've never heard of anybody doing that before. You're a
wow.
very creative person. Now, unfortunately for you, your creative behavior is against the rules. But I'm giving you 100 for creativity. Now I'm paraphrasing that. I'm giving you 100 for creativity, but you're on the short end of grading for uh, being a success in this classroom, you know. And but tapping into that, and I wonder if there'd be any way that you could turn that creativity into a way that didn't get you in trouble, but was something, you know, it was marvelous. And all of a sudden, you've taken the sail out of the wind or the wind out of the sail, whatever, you know, diffused this possible conflict situation where they become collaborators in tapping into Bobby's creativity rather
Yeah.
than a punitive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this text goes hand in hand with what you're saying is always treat him as if he's good, set up circumstances where he can only succeed. So here, when you break the rules, I must follow whatever the rule breaking policy is. I mean, there are laws, there are some, ways to regard the situation. Anyway, but I think it would be better if you understood how much I care for you, how
Yeah.
much I'd be happy to talk with you and help you to choose better behaviors than you are choosing now, because you can control that.
Mhm.
That's
And
the old my job is my job is not, you know, and it's just that's why reality therapies and now choice theory have been so successful in probation, prison, alternative schools, disciplinary approaches to kids, because it helps them take a look at that and their capability. Now we would start teaching them choice theory, and they learn that they can have other choices
right.
that would give them the freedom to be who they want, so to speak, but to operate within the boundaries of the system if they want to get ahead, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mona, would
Yeah.
it be an imposition of you to share that with us by email, that list?
Okay, I can do that.
That's
I
marvelous
would
because
really
these are,
appreciate it, Mona.
these are out of the mainstream, you know, like you say, your personal notes, and these are not like the ones that are on some of the website or coming directly out of the book.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, thank you for your comments, and we will close out for today. Thank each of you for being here. And those of you watching later, there's all kinds of good videos that you can see, or you can look up a basic intensive training and get to know a lot more about reality therapy and choice theory. So many blessings to all.